Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I will try to be 8 minutes short. That's what I've been told, because we're quite hungry. So, the founder of Ελληνική Εταιρεία, Kostas Karas, who sadly passed away in February this year, 50 years ago, together with his wife, Lydia, who sits in front of me, they established Ελληνική Εταιρεία, ELET, as we call it. They even gave a middle name to their baby, this non-profit organization. They hence called it Society for the Environment and Cultural Heritage. In 1972, precisely the year in which the Club of Rome published its report, The Limits to Growth, 1 year before the oil crisis, in 1973, with the backdrop of an Arab-Israeli war, and while Greece's cultural heritage was being continuously and mercilessly ravaged by a dictatorship regime, Kostas Karas has the strong intuition of associating nature and culture, and of seeing that these two subjects are the two sides of the same coin. Unfortunately, I had not had the chance to meet Kostas Karas in person. However, I must say I have met him through the works of him I have been reading, through the projects, campaigns, and achievements of Ελληνική Εταιρεία and of Europa Nostra, to which he has been contributing all over his life. In a way, I have met Kostas Karas through his legacy, his heritage. And please allow me to confess that this is what bears a large part of my confidence and trust and motivation in coordinating the Europa Nostra Heritage Hub in Athens. Leveraging on that legacy, on that heritage, and of course on the ones of Europa Nostra and all our partners and European institutions who have been proudly for years and diligently fighting for the preservation of our common heritage, the Athens Heritage Hub aspires to keep on walking on the avant-garde footsteps of Kostas Karas. We will hence keep on questioning and challenging our visions, our models, our goals, our methods, and we will keep on strongly committing, together with the civil society, to building regional capacity in Southeast Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. And we will not only advocate for the protection and defense of our heritage, but also and foremost for its significance and relevance, especially when it comes to designing an inclusive and sustainable future. But what does heritage for peace and solidarity really means? I will go a bit further. Be that true, how we could further reveal the potential of heritage to provide for peace and solidarity. Allow me to try to answer the question by using a very tangible example that reflects on the principles and ideas that our dear panel has already spoken about. From the 10th until the 16th of October 2022, at the Prespa Lakes in Greece, which are surrounded by 3 countries, Albania, Greece, and North Macedonia, will meet for the first time around 10 young heritage professionals coming from 10 different Balkan countries and from different fields, such as architecture, law, engineering, social sciences, and arts. Their mission, this Youth Special Task Force for the Balkans, as we call it, will co-create, will formulate several proposals for educational, research, and training activities related to the cultural and natural heritage of Western Balkans, addressing the needs expressed by the local civil society. Which is the modality of this co-creation camp? It will have a hybrid format between a seminar, a workshop, and a cultural trip. During the stay, the members of the Balkan Youth Special Task Force will enjoy several activities, allowing them to explore and get in contact with the rich heritage of the Prespa region. These activities will alternate with workshops where the young heritage experts will be joining forces to work on practical ideas and concrete outcomes. Can this whole event be observed as an action towards peace and solidarity between and among people and territories? Undoubtedly, yes. Yet, this is also a story of solidarity between countries which are within the EU and countries which are not yet members of the EU. The relationships we want to put forward here are not the ones between a colonizer and a colonized. And precisely, as far as heritage is concerned, non-EU member states have to share as many design, traditional techniques, craftsmanships, and cultural expressions with EU member states as the other way around. The idea of going beyond established semantic boundaries and binaries, it is, in my opinion, at the very, very heart of any project aiming at fostering solidarity and peace. In the Anthropocene, maintaining a binary between nature and culture appears somehow obsolete and counterproductive. For there is nothing in nature that is not a construct, that is not cultural, and vice versa, culture is a completely natural phenomenon that manifests not only within human societies, but also within societies of other species. Going beyond the binaries, opposing young generations to elder ones by engaging them in collective thinking processes and by highlighting the essential role youth can play when actively involved in shaping a sustainable and inclusive future, can do nothing but strengthening the efficiency of our policies and the resilience of our democratic foundations. The idea of going beyond preconceived patterns, opposing sciences to arts, engineering to finance, hard skills to soft skills, it is also at the very heart of the co-creation camp in Prespa. The socio-ecological crisis we are currently facing is also and inseparably a crisis of our common sensibility in an era of increased digitalization, where fantastic immersive environments are generated by means of virtual and augmented reality. It is maybe urgent to resharpen our ability to grasp our places, territories, living organisms, built environments and landscapes by our senses. Working on our aesthetics literally means sharpening our ability to access knowledge through our senses. All in all, in Prespa we will try to go beyond boundaries and binaries opposing fields and disciplines, ages, EU member statuses, moments of creation and recreation, humans and their surrounding biodiversity, built environments and natural landscapes, top-down processes and grassroots. Our hypothesis is that peace and solidarity, when envisaged in a broad sense, and as such, when encapsulated in the making of heritage-related projects and policies, might in return enhance the agency or capacity, if you want, of heritage to provide for peace and solidarity in an even more meaningful and long-lasting way. Thereupon, allow me to thank you for your kind attention and wish you bon appetit, dobro chuť, I will say in Czech.
Thank you so much. I think it's up to me or to you to say, is the space for lunch now?
Absolutely.
To you.
I think you have all deserved. This was an extraordinary morning. The first part, I mean, the two-thirds parts. Yes, I want to thank, of course, all the panelists from this panel and the previous panel, the two moderators, Nada Hosking. Thank you so much, Nada, and all the panelists of the first panel on mobilizing voices and forces for Ukraine. I think we have had some very good energy, good vibes, and a lot of work to do together. And special thanks once again to our Ukrainian colleagues and the certificates that I hope we will deserve it. We don't yet deserve it, but I hope we will deserve it. So thank you once again. For all of you, again, I think we have a lot of very concrete challenges ahead of us, and I think we will very soon visit together Gaia Danese in Brussels, and André, with your very forceful leadership on philanthropy and public-private partnerships for the culture of solidarity, something that you have been promoting so much. And of course, Europa Nostra, with our document that we will also distribute with all of you, the proposal of global heritage partnerships in Western Balkans, also in the Mediterranean. You have stressed the Africa, but of course the Mediterranean area. And I think Hispania Nostra is in the room. Hispania Nostra is also very keen to promote that in Latin America and Hispano-America as well. So, Luca, and for you, just a comment. You are promoting the idea to have an EU special envoy for cultural diplomacy. And I think we really believe that you are a very good candidate to become that special envoy. So with all that, applause to all the moderators.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a true privilege to be with you this morning, and I would like to thank the Dream Team for the kind invitation. Now, I must confess that I feel rather at home. After all, the Agora was an Athenian invention thousands and thousands of years ago, much like democracy itself. Democracy. What a wonderful concept. Take a moment to think about it, since most of the time we take it for granted. It derives from the Greek words demos, the people, and kratos, loosely translated or as power, or for the most barbarian amongst you, as the state. The power of the people. A novel concept that is ideologically charged, and if I may say so, hoping that the Americanism will be forgiven, rather values heavy. This is a point that I would like to stress, ladies and gentlemen, as an introduction. Democracy is not neutral. Democracy does not happen by accident. It is not a coincidence. It is a direct product of a number of choices, some soft, some hard, some implicit, some explicit, some painful, and some bloody. And it is associated, if not outwardly identified, with the history of Europe. The history of our dark continent in the 20th century. I'm reminded of Mazauer's eye-opening book that fought hard, tooth and nail, as they say, not to descend to authoritarianism, not to descend to division, not to descend to barbarism. And today's European institutions, Europa Nostra shining bright amongst them, are, even at their very worst, expressions of our better selves, allowing us to be grateful, and why not, healthily judgmental at the same time, even at the risk of self-indulgence. Now, I felt the need to begin with this very short reminder of who we are, our very democratic DNA, because at difficult and tumultuous times such as these, we all need a jolt. After all, we are all preparing for the winter of our discontent. Of course, some never needed any kind of a job. And I'm thinking of a great Athenian, the unforgettable Kostas, whose many contributions were recognized in last night's award ceremony. Many of you, I know, had the honor of knowing him and working with him as he threw himself, body and soul, to his ideas. There's a lot our nature and our culture owes to Kostas Karas, including, I should highlight once again, as a mayor of Athens, Plaka and the larger Acropolis area. Bravely swimming against the tide, along with his moose and partner Lydia, and his friends and allies at the Ελληνική Εταιρεία, he quite literally changed the agenda and the terms of the debate by not only placing the environment full center, but also highlighting the symbiotic relationship between the environment and our cultural heritage. Now, can you imagine that? Beginning in Greece in the early 1970s, persuading and cajoling policymakers, making the impossible possible, and actually convincing politicians to think about the next generation rather than the next election? What a man. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we stand on the shoulders of giants, men and women who raged against the night. Thinkers, scientists, artists, activists, entrepreneurs, even politicians. They taught us that a challenge to nature is a challenge to culture, and at the end of the day, is a challenge to democracy. Case in point, evidence clearly shows that democracies are better for the environment and for our cultural heritage. It's been proven again and again that mature democracies, regimes with expanded rights, stronger institutions, and low levels of corruption have less urban air pollution, better environmental and cultural policy measures and outcomes, and stronger commitments to address climate change and protect cultural monuments. Mature democracies are more likely to sign and ratify multilateral environmental or cultural treaties, to designate, for example, larger areas of land as protected, and participate in more international organizations. The climate, culture, democracy link is explicit. Only in democracies can citizens hold leaders accountable, and people are increasingly concerned about climate and nature. And even though a democratic form of government does not, by itself, guarantee that a given country will lead on cultural or environmental issues, it is the only form of government that gives the people a chance to include their concerns in the political agenda. Indeed, nature, culture, democracy, the three great fundamental building blocks of our civilization. Or, to succumb to the temptation and use another Greek word, indulge me, I come from Athens after all, politismos, derived from the polis, the city, which relates to the politis, the citizen. The same politis that led progress from the Greco-Roman world, the Renaissance and humanism, all the way to the Enlightenment and Hobsbawm age of revolution to the present day. The same politis that built the Acropolis and 2,500 years later ensured in this, I should say, Athens is probably the only city that its landmark and symbol has this capacity, ensured that the Acropolis is visible from all around the city, from poorer and richer neighborhoods alike. 360 degrees of visibility, of hope, of inspiration. The same politis who, as we speak, dread the winter and its coming, trapped in rising socioeconomic inequalities and injustices, with cost of life skyrocketing and energy poverty. No, families should not, ladies and gentlemen, need to choose between food and paying their energy bills in Europe in 2022. And the answer can only be more democracy, not less. Populism, misinformation, and political instability are detrimental to progress. If you have any doubt, listen to France, Sweden, and now Italy. The recent pandemic has dramatized the crucial importance of mature democracies in our globalized world. The need for the rule of law, the rule of reason, supported by transparency, accountability, and a bias for collaboration. Athens has in the last 10 years faced and survived a prolonged economic crisis, a large migration influx, the effects of climate crisis in, amongst others, unprecedented temperatures, and a global pandemic. These challenges initially brought the rise of a neo-Nazi party and widespread populism across the political spectrum. The same neo-Nazi party that was born in an Athenian neighborhood and died in an Athenian courthouse. And we didn't just bounce back, we bounced forward. Our democracy prevailed and is now stronger. And we are now, if I may say so, going through a post-populism era. And our trajectory might, I dare say, provide an example to countries currently undergoing populist and authoritarian convulsions. To deal with today's global crisis, we need more democracy, humility, data-driven policies, and an openness to innovation and collaboration within our cities and across our cities, like the collaboration with the Elliniki Eteria on founding this incredible, innovative regional hub. It is evident that many authoritarian rulers around the world today are ineffective at solving problems and are dangerous to their own people. What we need for the far-reaching crisis of today is forward international collaborations that can offer cross-sectoral support and foster innovation and social cohesion locally. Now, more than ever before, it is critical to build a more resilient world bottom-up. In case any of this sounds familiar, it is because you are in the right place. Thank you, Europa Nostra. Thank you, Elliniki Eteria, for leading the way. Many thanks.